I would like to explain to Washington, to President Obama, to legislators, to deciders and people with power of decision in the Congress, in the Senator, to Washington leadership who are the leaders of the U.S. people, of the United States people, that the crime that comes from drugs, the violence, the lack of security in Central America has a cost for the United States. It's not a benefit. And on the other hand, prosperity, a Central America with opportunities, a Central America in peace is a benefit to the United States and not a liability. In short, it's a crisis for Central America and it's a crisis for the U.S. So let's work together to solve it.
President Obama has decided a novel play in the current immigration nightmare. Instead of securing the borders, as many have demanded, he has instead decided the best way to work with the problem, start from scratch, and instead find a way to make the trip to America safer, not for illegal immigrants, but what he would deem refugees. This while South American leaders say what's happening in their country isn't the real problem. It's because America has such a confusing immigration policy. The smugglers are easily poking holes in any idea of secure borders. If your head is swimming at this moment, we'll throw you a life jacket. Welcome to MidPoint. Director of Policy Studies for the Center of Immigration Studies, Jessica Vaughan joins us. Jessica, thanks so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thank
Jessica,
you.
I have to tell you, this has got some people completely up in arms here because here they are looking for answers. And this is the administration now coming up with an idea that would allow hundreds of minors and young adults from Honduras into the U.S. without making the trek to Mexico. They would actually be brought here as refugees. Does this really make a lot of sense?
No, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It really stretches beyond belief the definition of a real refugee. And on top of it, it's a completely open-ended plan that gives this administration a blank check to decide who gets to come to the United States. And we know how that will end up because of how they've run programs before, pretty much rubber stamping anyone. But most importantly, it's not going to do anything to address this crisis at the border right now, which is the result of the non-enforcement policies that the administration has adopted, the catch and release policies that have motivated people to come because they know they're going to be allowed to stay. So it's a complete distraction to what the problem is.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but we heard the Honduras president where he was talking about his own country. It sure sounded to me and sounded to an awful lot of people as if what he is saying and other South American leaders are saying, wait a minute, we have problems, but we need America to send us money and we need you to fix our problems so that this way you can fix your problem. Doesn't it seem that way? That certainly does sound it.
It's kind of circular logic, I think,
yes.
And ought to be a little bit embarrassing for these governments to actually say something like that. I mean, I do believe that, and many people, other experts believe also, that the problems in Central America have to do with civil society and the inability of those governments to get control of what's happening there, that the violent gangs have overrun the country and are operating with impunity. But that's not a problem that can be solved by letting everyone move to the United States. It just doesn't make any sense. I would support real efforts to try to help Honduras regain the rule of law in its own country, and that's what the president ought to be asking for. But he's not going to admit that his government is a failure. So we should not let those countries tell us what to do with our own immigration policy. It just doesn't. That has real drawbacks for the American communities that have to settle these people and take on the burden of helping them become self-sufficient in our country, which is not likely to happen. It's just, the basic bottom line is we can't solve Honduras's problems by letting the population move here.
And here is a quote, and you certainly know this next gentleman that I'm going to quote here for a moment, let everybody see this. Mark Krikorian happens to be the executive director for the Center for Immigration Studies. You certainly know him as well. There you go. It's his comment. It's clearly a bad idea. More people will apply for refugee status if they can just do it from their home countries. We have already heard a number of people indicate to us, and there have been some interviews that are out there that have not been attributed yet, but they've supposedly they are talking to young teenagers, young people going, well, yeah, you can come to America. It's not a big problem. Now get me there, and it's going to be even easier for them to take care of what we need at this point. So what could the administration possibly be thinking here if they're willing to push this through when they know that it's wrong-headed, when they know that it's circular logic, when they know that in many ways they are playing right into the hands of the South American countries?
It's because their top priority is to appease certain parts of their base of political support, namely the immigration advocacy groups, the cheap labor big businesses, and everybody else who has been arguing for a massive amnesty. They need to distract attention from their lax enforcement policies that have caused this surge at the border with everybody trying to come, rejoining family members who are already here illegally. They need to make it seem like it's a humanitarian refugee crisis in order to be able to accomplish this mass amnesty and admissions program that they can't get through Congress. That's what this is all about, trying to create an excuse to just let all these people come so that these key elements in their political base will stop complaining about their failure to get it through Congress.
Devil's advocate then, 1 minute that we have left. Those saying, wait a minute, this is a better way to do it. You bring them in here, they become citizens, you give them a process, you give them a way to be here and be a part of the American dream. Your answer to that would be?
Well, if that's what Congress wants to do, because Congress is in charge of immigration policy, let them enact that and deduct numbers from some other category of legal immigration. They have the authority to do that, and it's rightfully their authority under the Constitution. The president should be honest about what his agenda is and see if Congress supports it. And if it doesn't, then he just has to go home.
Is this just like somebody paddling water, desperately trying to stay afloat?
Politically, yes, I think it is, to hide the results of his failed immigration policy and his failure to enact the amnesty. He doesn't have many options left.
I don't know if he has any options left at this point, to be very honest. It seems as if this might be almost a last-ditch effort. We'll have to follow it and wait and see what happens here, because I'll tell you, some people are just up in arms about this, and well put as well. Jessica, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Let's do it again real soon. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks so much. You too.
All right, we will watch this. Indeed, now it's going to be just bring them from Honduras, and you heard the Honduras president saying, just give us help. Next up, the real war on women. It's out there for everyone to see and hear, yet always conveniently missed. Allow me to reveal it in my commentary. Telling it like it is next on the show that every single day, Monday through Friday, answers all the questions. MidPoint.